Feeling a little anxious about the Dutch state reading exam? Hey, you're not alone. But what if you could walk into that exam room knowing exactly what to expect? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the NT2 Lezen Programma I exam. Using the official materials themselves, we're going to turn all that uncertainty into a clear, actionable game plan. So let's get into it and turn that anxiety into your biggest advantage.
So, what's the deal with this test, really? Is it some huge, mysterious, unbeatable challenge? Not even close. By the end of this, you'll see it's actually a very structured, very predictable exam that you can absolutely get ready for.
Here's our roadmap for demystifying this whole thing. We've got 4 stops. First, we'll break down the core numbers. Then we'll get into the rules and the one strategy you absolutely can't miss. After that, we'll look at the kinds of texts and questions you'll see. And finally, we'll translate all those points into a passing scores so you know exactly what your target is.
First up, let's just get a feel for the exam by the numbers. Think of these as the basic specs for the challenge ahead. The first number you need to burn into your brain is 110. That's how many minutes you get, so just under 2 hours. And that tells you right away that time management is going to be a huge part of your strategy. And in those 11 minutes, what are you going to be doing? Well, you'll be working through 6 different texts. They could be anything from articles to instructions, but the number is always the same, 6 texts. And across those 6 texts, you're going to face a grand total of 35 multiple-choice questions. So let's do some quick math here. That gives you just a little over 3 minutes for each question. That's your time budget to read, understand the question, and find your answer. Okay, so we've got the numbers down. Now let's talk about how to turn that into a winning strategy. We're going to dive into the official rules to figure out the smartest way to play this game. You know, the exam actually gives you a surprising amount of power, and you've got to use it. You don't have to answer the questions in order, so you can find the easiest texts first and build up some momentum. You can, and you absolutely should, write all over the exam booklet, underline things, make notes, and yes, you can use a dictionary, which is a massive help. All of this is designed to help you find that one correct answer among the choices. Now, if there is one golden rule, one secret weapon for this exam, this is it. It comes directly from the official instructions, Lees du steeds eerst de vragen. Always read the questions before you read the text. But why? Because the questions are your roadmap. They tell you how you need to read. Are you just hunting for one little detail, or do you need to understand the whole point of the text? This one tip will save you so much time. Okay, so we're armed with our strategy. Let's take a look at the content itself. You might be surprised by just how predictable the texts and questions on this exam really are. Check this out. We pulled the data from the official practice exams from the last 3 years. Do you see a pattern here? The topics, the domains, are consistently about work, education, and other general topics. The types of text are also pretty consistent: descriptive, persuasive, instructive. This isn't random. It shows that you can actually practice by reading these specific kinds of texts. And this right here is exactly why reading the questions first is such a superpower. When you see a lookup question, like, "What time do you have to start?" you know you're just scanning the text for a specific piece of information. But when you see a purpose question, like, "What is the main goal of this text?" you know you have to read for the big picture. Just by knowing the type of question, you instantly know how to approach the text. All right, this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle, the score. How do you actually pass this thing? It's not as mysterious as you might think. So, what's the magic number? It's 500. All your correct answers get converted into a final score, and 500 is that finish line. If you hit 500 or higher, you've passed. Simple as that. It's really just a simple pass or fail. Everything below 500 is a fail, 500 and up is a pass. That's the target. But what does a score of 500 actually mean in terms of how many questions you need to get right? Yeah, that 500-point score isn't just some random number they pull out of thin air. It's directly tied to the number of questions you get right out of 35. And understanding this connection is the key to walking in there with confidence. This is where it gets really encouraging. Now look at this. In 2022 and 2023, you needed 23 correct answers out of 35 to get that passing score. In 2024, it was 24. This means you don't need to be perfect. You can get roughly a third of the questions wrong and still pass pretty comfortably. Doesn't that make the goal feel a whole lot more achievable? Now you might be thinking, wait, why was it 23 one year and 24 the next?
Well, the official documents explain that not all exams are created equal in terms of difficulty, so they adjust the number of correct answers needed to pass just a little bit to account for how tough that specific year's test was. It's just their way of keeping the scoring fair from one year to the next.
So let's recap real quick. You now have the complete blueprint. You know the time limits, the structure, the rules, the single most important strategy, the kinds of texts you'll see, and, maybe most importantly, you know the exact number of correct answers you're aiming for. The exam isn't a mystery anymore, right? It's a clear challenge with a very clear path to success. So the only question left is, are you ready to put all this knowledge into practice?